Alright guys, here we go, another tier list. So earlier in the week, I rated all 9 of the new elite specializations coming with End of Dragons as of the betas. So I think that's quite an interesting story right now as we move into beta 4, see what the devs will tweak about them. But I had a lot of fun making that video. You guys said you wanted to see more. So I'm going to do this for Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire as well. Let's look back at the other elite specs. And here's the thing, they're not like deleted from the game. They still get patches and reworks and updates and so on. They're still totally viable elements of Guild Wars. So I'm going to treat these tier lists exactly the same as the End of Dragons one. What do I mean by that? I mean, I want to focus on design, I want to focus on customization, I want to focus on like animation quality, you know, feel, all that sort of stuff. I'm not really interested in tuning. Because again, like, you never know where balance will be in a year from now, a year later. The fact that something's strong in a certain area, in a certain meta, I don't know. I mean, I think it's a very viable approach to do a tier list where you do talk about metas and, you know, efficacy and how long something's been overpowered. And I'd love to watch those videos if people make them. But for me, I think I'm going to stick it strictly to design. So the question is, what do I do first? Heart of Thorns or POF? I did ask you guys in the comments of the previous video. And, well, I'm going with Heart of Thorns. I probably have more experience since Heart of Thorns has been out for longer with the Heart of Thorns Elite specs, and I don't know, I just feel like talking about Heart of Thorns for today. So here's how we're going to do it. Same as before, if I take the Reaper, for example, I've got S, A, B, C, and D tier. If the Reaper's on D, it doesn't mean it's terrible, it just means it's my least favorite of the set. Let's go that way, yeah? Likewise, if Reaper ends up on S, then I think that's going to be my favorite of the set. The final Grand Melee tier list I do, where they're all together, I think I'll change that. But for today, that's what I want to run with. That's what I did on the End of Dragons part. So, let's start off with now. I've got various icons here in almost a random order. The first one we'll do is the Herald. So this is the Revenant Elite Specialization. Now, this is kind of a weird one to start with because actually I think of all 9 Elite specs, this one has the, like, strangest story. This was added at the same time as its base class, that being the Revenant. And for that reason, there's some weird, like, wonky stuff with this, where Rev for a long time, I mean, people kind of forget it now that you've got choices for your elite specialization, but Rev itself felt like kind of half a class, like it didn't exist without Herald. And throughout the whole Heart of Thorns era, it was basically like there weren't really any core Rev builds. There wasn't like, you know, they did a bit of a revamp recently where you get an actual F ability on core Rev. Herald was like the be-all and end-all. It didn't matter what kind of Rev you were playing, you kind of supplemented it. So I don't know. I don't know whether that should take points away from the Herald for me. But in a way, it kind of does drag my memory of it down and my sort of impression of it down a bit. You guys are going to disagree and be mad at that, but that's genuinely how I feel. Another thing that kind of drags the Herald down for me a bit is I don't really like the facet skills. So like Revenant was implemented with this idea of energy mechanics, and it was like a nod back to Guild Wars 1, and in Guild Wars 1, one of the interesting ways you could spend energy was by creating like a bond with another character that took away your regeneration of energy in order to get another like benefit, and it was like a special kind of enchantment you could do, and that just didn't translate into Guild Wars 2. What the facets do on Herald is they're all upkeeps, but I don't like the flow of being a Herald when I have all those facets, basically Legendary Dragon stance. I don't like the constant double tapping and all the extra micro that basically goes into experiencing it. And I get that some people might like it. There are certain things I do enjoy, like I like using a Sword 3 and double tapping the Fury facet so that you can pulse reveal while you're in the middle of it, or pulse a blind while you're in the middle of it. And, you know, there are certain combos you could do with the Dragon facet at the end, so there are some elements, but generally I'm not too hot on Dragon stance, I have to say. I much prefer, like, Jarlis, and I much prefer Demon, and I much prefer even Shiro. So, I don't know, it's a weird one. I think this is honestly either C or D. We'll put it at C for now, but I might reassess that, honestly. And Shield is fairly forgettable, right? I mean, I'm editing this video right now because I accidentally said that Staff was the Herald weapon, not Shield. I mean, that's how forgettable Shield has been to me. Oh, there you go, a controversial opener for the tier list, but there you have it. So next on the list, we have Chrono. Chrono's a funny one to me. I love Chrono. I really do. I think the utility skills are really interesting and impactful, and I love the sound effects on them. I love the animation, the clock idea. I like the complete package of Chrono. It's a fun, like, name for a specialization. It's a payoff on a profession fantasy that never got realized in Guild Wars 1. There was supposed to be a full class in the first game called Chronomancer for the Utopia expansion. It got cancelled in favor of Guild Wars 2, and here we were at Heart of Thorns getting the Chrono. It's It's just such a cool name for a spec. It's such a cool idea, and they actually pay it off in the mechanics too. They added alacrity, they added quickness-based effects, they added a really interesting new shatter with a badass rewind mechanic. Now, in truth, I still think the full potential of the rewind mechanic hasn't actually been realized. I love the idea of like having to protect your exit point, otherwise it gets damaged, and then, you know, you port back. And there have been some funny, cheesy experiences I've had in raids where I've died to like a Sabbath of flamethrower or something because I had my continuum split in the wrong place. So I suppose it's there a little bit. I really like the whole concept of it. Shield maybe feels a bit overloaded, and you know, I can definitely see some PvP metas where this thing's caused some real problems. Gravity well's never been that fun to fight against in competitive modes. But those again are kind of efficacy tuning issues. Overall, I've really enjoyed my time with Chrono. I think it's very, very fun. I will say though, it's a bit weird because I've actually played it a lot less than you'd think I have. I've got such a high opinion of it, but I haven't played it as much as I feel like realistically I could have. So I don't know. I think for that reason alone, it's not going to hit S tier, but I think it's really brilliant, and I'm super happy that it's in the game. Next, we have something I have played a lot of. That's going to be the Tempest. This is the Ellie spec. Back when Heart of Thorns came out, I still sort of consider myself an Ellie main, kind of at the launch of the game. That's sort of where I consider myself. So I was very keen and very interested in this one. What I was looking for from the Tempest was like a storm mage, as the name suggested. So lots of really high potency water, air stuff. I wanted big damage, I wanted storms, and I wanted to, you know, feel like a badass. And to a certain degree we got that, but they also did make it a support. And I don't think I'll ever forgive them for making the Tempest a support. I wish they had just gone, hey, it's a big damage thing. Now, the truth is, throughout the Heart of Thorns era, and for many eras, in fact, there have been ways of playing DPS Tempests, so you might say, well, WP, you're nitpicking. But I don't know, I feel like the traits aren't as fun as they could have been. I actually once upon a time did a big rework for Tempest on my second channel, which is weird to kind of look back and think of. The shouts are okay as well, but I sort of wish we didn't get shouts. I sort of wish we didn't get Warhorn. That wasn't too interesting to me. I think either of the bows or like Torch are some weapons I've been really excited about on Ellie, and so far we haven't had any Elite specs actually offering those. I think the thing that this did best was the overloads, right? They're so good. The like flame tornado that you can spin around in, pulsing might, and you know, actually leave one on the ground. The air overload is fantastic, even though the animation's a little bit subtle. I mean, who remembers the earth overload? Actually riding the earth around and all those comparisons people used to do to earth bending from Avatar. I mean, it's really great, right? And despite maybe the theme of Warhorn not hitting for me too much, the actual skills they gave us I still love. I love the air skills that we got with the zipper and the lightning orb. And then even the support stuff like Sand Squall, Boon Bouncing has always been fun to me. Rebound is one of my favorite skills in the game. Oh, is it S? I don't know. I think it's A. I think the fact that they took such a cool theme and made it a support thing kind of roughs it up a bit. So I'm going to leave that A though. I'm going to leave that A. I really, really do like that spec. Next, we have the Reaper. Reaper's a funny one because, especially for most of us watching this video who are interested in like roaming around in PvE and stuff, I think it's very easy to put Reaper up in S tier because it's so potent. There's so much quality of life and stuff on it. But trying to ignore the tuning, what do we have? Well, we've got a really cool, edgy theme that speaks to me perfectly. A beautifully animated Shroud. The utility skills are maybe a little bit wanting. Once again, it's like the Tempest thing where there's shouts, and I don't know how much I really care too much about it. As a Necro, I've always wanted lots of minion opportunities on an Elite spec, and they've still never delivered that to me there. So you know, Reaper got Rise. But that's about it. When I look back at the launch ideas of Reaper with like the trait that made Chill do damage, the way that was originally implemented I loved. And you can still kind of play a little bit Deathly Chill. There was another thing with Reaper, which was where it was supposed to be like a point blank melee character that is really good when outnumbered. You know, a lot of its abilities scale the more that they can cleave and stuff. The shouts definitely did that. And to a certain degree, I have actually sort of had fun experiences there with that. But the downside to it is that they also wanted to do like a slow-moving, you know, horror monster. And the 3-line, I remember when they were introducing this to us, the idea that you'd have like a really slow bruisery line, a slightly faster like rampagey kind of line, and then like you could sort of have the Condi line. And I don't know whether they ever fully paid off on that. I feel like Death's Charge has always been moving the Reaper too far, too fast, but maybe that's a tuning thing. I don't know, I think Reaper's great, guys. I think it's really cool. I think it added a lot of hype to Heart of Thorns. I think I'll love this thing forevermore with Guild Wars, really. Even if it wasn't as strong as it is, it's just a badass idea, isn't it? And it had some cool skins and stuff with it. I'm putting it A as well. Or does it deserve S? Is it my favorite of the set? I think it might be S. Let's tentatively put it at S for now. I really did enjoy it. Okay, next I've got, again, no particular order, we've got medium armor. This is going to be Daredevil. Daredevil, I think the animation work is incredible on. Like, a lot of people don't appreciate the utility. I think of all the utility sets, okay, the Wells were pretty good on Chrono, but then we have the 2 Shout sets, the Facets. I'm not too hot on any of the utilities, and then we get to Daredevil, and I love all of the Daredevil utilities. Even though a lot of them I think players haven't necessarily used, and in terms of potency, they haven't necessarily landed. I think stuff like the Elite and the idea of the auto finish on it is just so badass. I think the throwing knives are lots of fun. And even kind of, you know, like the basic utility of this set, like the stun break, Bandit's defense, I kind of have happy memories of, probably just because it's been so overtuned for all the years. But what I really love about Daredevil are the dodge rolls, right? The dodge rolls are so good. They're also beautifully animated. They have 3 distinct ideas. Using the damage one in PvE, the dash in competitive settings. I really love Daredevil. My god, they're all just crowding around A, aren't they? Jesus. The staff is so good on Daredevil. It's weird to me because this is so perfect for End of Dragons. You know, if I could swap the Spectre to Heart of Thorns and the Daredevil to End of Dragons, I really would, because everything they did about it is so brilliant. The first melee staff, oh man, it's definitely in the A tier as well. I gotta start shuffling these around a bit. We'll see, we'll come back to it in a second. I really do like Daredevil, for sure. The only thing that I've personally struggled with Daredevil over the years is, aside from using really cheesy, like basic, like pistol builds in PvE, I've not actually used it much in those formats. I do always feel very glassy and very squishy, and it takes more of my brain power than I wish it did. But, I mean, that's the Thief experience to a certain degree. I'm not going to take points away from it for that. Yeah, I really love it. It was brilliant. Okay, next we have the Berserker. Oh god, was the whole Heart of Thorns set just this good? Oh, the Berserker. Okay, so the thing that really strikes me about Berserker that I enjoyed so much is that every single weapon got a new burst. So, like, they really went above and beyond. It's a bit like when we get to Path of Fire and the Weaver got all those dual skills. It feels like they did a lot of work there. And some of those bursts have been a bit lame and a bit iffy, but I can think of various experiences I've had over different metas where, you know, I'll be using the Longbow Condi stuff, or I'll be Decapitate spamming, or, you know, if you go far enough back, I remember using the Mace Burst a ton in competitive environments. So I think I've genuinely had fun with basically all of them. And just that clear idea of we exchange our adrenaline, we go into this rampage mode. It's lots of fun, right? I shouldn't say rampage, because obviously that's a special case. What do we lose on Berserker? Well, maybe you can say it's a little bit one-dimensional. Maybe the torch wasn't too exciting, but I mean, Warrior's always going to struggle for elite specs because it had so many weapons already available to it, right? Maybe some of its traits weren't too captivating until more recent years. I mean, I'm not really a fighting game player, but they did that cool thing with all the fighting game references. I mean, I kind of want to credit it there, but for me personally, it's not the biggest hit. I don't know, I really do like the Berserker, but I think I'll leave it at B, just because my own personal experience with it have been a little bit more limited than even some of these others, I would say. So, yeah, but I do really like that we're going for. And look, they had a clear fantasy. Look at this, by the way. This is something I could not say about the End of Dragon specs. Every single one of these has a very clear, like, idea that they're giving you, except Herald, which, guess what, I've ended up rating quite low. You know, I think all of them have a very distinct concept, and that's executed by the mechanics. I also think, by the way, that most of the utility skill sets on these have also done well. Like, the utility skills on Berserker are great too. Actual big, clean, clear animations that do fun stuff, interesting nuance to them. So yeah, I think they've all got a leg up over this new wave just because of that. So then we get Scrapper. And I think Scrapper goes to C for me. Scrapper's in a weird place. Okay, I think the community's always discussed this thing wrong, but people always try and give Scrapper a free pass when they haven't used it or haven't found it very fun. Okay, and that's what I want to talk about. Have you found Scrapper fun? Because they say, oh, it's just a competitive spec. I don't think that's the right way to view elite specs, and I don't think... and they say that because obviously the function gyro with its resurrection and stomp mechanic really had limited use in PvE. In theory, they could have added more stomping, like Nightmare Core enemies and so on in PvE, and we could have actually been using the function gyro for that reason in PvE for all this time. The devs never did that, so Scrapper's kind of felt like more of a competitive thing. It's also undergone a lot of reworks. I have to say, I don't really like... They're more functional, but I don't like what these gyros became. Now that they're wells that just attach to you, I actually think I prefer the old version of the gyros, where the models were bigger and you could like look at their animations and stuff. They were less functional, but I preferred the way they used to work. Now it's just kind of like this, you know, melee grinder play style with lots and lots of barrier going on all over the place and very passive, easy peasy effects as you pump gyros around yourself. So I don't know. I think barriers had, I think Scrappers had a lot of identity issues as well, like what it wants to do with barrier and what it wants to do with alacrity and stuff. So I don't know. And what's the fantasy here? I get that it's tied to a bit of lore, but Heart of Thorns notoriously was kind of lacking a lot of specific lore. I mean, there is a little bit of talk about Scrappers that, you know, came down in the jungle and when you get to Tangled Depths and stuff. But overall, I don't think it's a very fascinating package to me. Wow, guys, every Hammer Elite spec is not rated very highly for me. Now, is it my least favorite of the whole set, or is Herald the least favorite of the set? I don't know just yet. I don't know. Maybe we don't remark any of them as D. But yeah, I just, through personal experience, I didn't really have too much fun with Scrapper over the years. And you know, I've had fun cheesing it with super high toughness in competitive settings, but again, that's sort of meta stuff. And finally, are we finally? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, penultimately, we have the Dragon Hunter. Dragon Hunter was so controversial when it came out, and do you know what, guys? Do you know what? I was never on board with the controversy. I like an antonym elite spec. What do I mean by that? Well, a lot of people, they'll look at elite specs and they'll say you've got to stay in your lane. So like a Thiefy elite spec has to be like a high DPS roguey thing. If they dare to make a healer, I'm going to be mad at that. And in fact, if you look at my previous tier list, you'll see people saying that about the Spectre from End of Dragons. But I don't think that's right. I like an elite spec to do the opposite. Like if we had a Necro elite spec that was themed as like an Angel of Death, and it was all like holy and crazy like angel-like, but it had like those underlying necro-y twisted kind of vibes, I would love that. I like antonym specs. I'm talking purely about theme here. So when you have the Dragon Hunter, there was a lot of controversy because the Guardian is about honor, it's about courage, it's about standing in the front lines, being the hero, you know, and full of virtue. And then they give us the Dragon Hunter, who's dropping traps and being sneaky and shooting from range. People really didn't like it. The other half of it that they didn't like was the name, which did sound stupid to me. I think I'm acclimated to it at this point. They were going for like a Witch Hunters type thing. And in a way, I sort of wish that the devs just called it a Witch Hunter if they really wanted to, right? But so, did I care that much? No, I liked it. I liked twisting it on its head. I really did. Now, I actually like it. You know, I'm happy to put it at A. Now, here's the thing. I remember the first trailer for the Dragon Hunter. It had, like, the Guardian hiding in a tree line, and, like, a dinosaur walks into its trap, and then they destroy the dinosaur with True Shot and stuff. Do you guys remember that? Now, that was a cool experience to me. Like, big game hunting. Now, that was cool. But have I ever really felt like that's happened in Guild Wars in actual gameplay? No, I haven't. I feel like I've just spiked traps up on people in point-blank melee and spammed regular Guardian stuff. So it's kind of a problem with Guild Wars, I think, with ranged playstyles where they've never managed to make them work that well. And I think that there's actually a lot that I wish End of Dragons had done in that department. You know, people mad at the Catalyst because it's like another melee Ellie and they want a range thing. I think what the Elite Spec team needs to do is start analysing why range specs feel a bit weird a lot of the time. And this never really felt like what it was trying to sell to me. So I think it kind of does drop a bit. But I mean, it's big, pretty animations. I think Guardian in general, I don't like for being too flashy and too white and too bright. But yeah, I think it was pretty good. I'm going to leave it at B. And I have no problem with the theme. I actually really like it. I'm going to leave it at B there. So that leaves us finally with the Druid. Oh, this is a rough one to end on. Okay, so like, the story of the Druid is fantastic, isn't it? If you guys remember when Heart of Thorns was first announced, what was the first thing they told us about before they had any details or anything? The Druid. Now, when I thought Druid, I thought it was going to be a lot like what the End of Dragons Untamed has, you know? Like, lots of, like, planty, viney stuff, and there is a bit of that on the Druid, but they went more with, like, the astrology and celestial and stargazing vibe, which, honestly, I'm not that into. Celestial Avatar, I don't care that much about, not really. I love the name Druid. I love the idea of a, like, robed caster in, like, green robes or something. That's what I like to think of when I think Druid. And then the Guild Wars 2 Druid didn't really do any of those. Then there's kind of the matter of playstyle. And as a support, I've not really played it that much. I've preferred other heal supports. I know that it's had a big place in endgame for a long time in PvE. But I just haven't really enjoyed it too much. The emote spam and stuff, I haven't really enjoyed in the competitive settings too often. If I'm playing these days a ranger, I would genuinely pick a core ranger, or I'd pick a soul beast, and probably an untamed, before I'd pick a druid for like general PvE stuff. So it's not that druid's bad, and I do think the Heart of Thorns succeeds for having it in it. But the specific little tangibles of how they like flavored it, I think drops it down to maybe C for me. So there you go. So now let's make a hard decision. Let's decide which is my least favorite. It's either Herald, Scrapper, or Druid. I think it's definitely not Druid. I think I'm going to put Scrapper at the bottom. It's hard because I've had a lot of fun on Herald over the years, but it's tricky because a lot of that's just core rev that I've been having fun on because they're packaged together. I really don't like Dragon Stance, the flow, the execution of Dragon Stance that much. And it doesn't offer too well defined of a story. No, I'm swapping it. I'm swapping it. This is the Dragon Stance, guys. This is Glint. I feel like I want that to have a more specific impact, and it didn't to a degree. Making it a boon support thing. So yeah, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to do it this way. And there you go. That's my Heart of Thorns tier list. As for the specific ordering of things, I think I've got it right here as well. I think Reaper, Chrono. Chrono is very close, though. I might even put Chrono in S as well. Then I think Daredevil is better and executes a cooler vision and stuff than Tempest did. Tempest loses points because it's a support. Actually, I'm going to swap these. Then it's Berserker, then it's Tempest, then it's Dragon Hunter. Oh god, do I want to swap those two? No. Tempest is still cool because of the overloads. Druid, Scrapper, Herald. That's my tier list. Pretty well balanced, I think, on that one. And I have to say, I do rate them all very highly, really. So there you have it, guys. That's my thoughts about the Heart of Thorns stuff. I'm still really interested in your own tier lists. On the previous part, I did say I'd love to see them. You can't post them really easily in the YouTube comments. They'll get caught by a spam filter. But in the description, I do have, on Discord, you can post as many as you like. And it's been really fun to share them there. So if you guys want to, go for that. And here's the funny thing about this tier list. It actually saves all what the community picks. And in the end, there's like a big community aggregate of all the specs, which will be really interesting. There's like a community rank button. So we can see what the whole population feels. And maybe where my stuff aligns or doesn't. So that's quite fun. Path of Fire next, and then I'm going to do a grand melee where it's no holds barred, all 3 X-Backs, and maybe even core all together. It's going to be incredible. So I'll see you guys there. One final note as well, we're doing a over 1,000 gold giveaway, 1,000 gold with Spud at the moment for a screenshot contest. So if you go to the Discord for that reason as well, you can find it here. I'll put on screen all the details for you. Basically, you take a screenshot, it's Halloween themed, you can be as creative as you like, 1 screenshot, and if you win, there's a hell of a lot of gold up for grabs, and really, it is as simple as that. So take care all, thanks very much for watching, let me know where you think I'm crazy, and I'll be in the comments watching very closely. Cheers everyone, see you next time.